Hello and welcome to the second ever edition, yes, the second ever edition of the Kickin Out Of Kayfabe podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam, and this week we're going to be talking about Raw and SmackDown. Going to do a review on them. Going to go over everything that happened, or everything of note that happened. We're not going to be talking about R-Truth's amazing promo that he cut on Goldust, or Goldust's promo that he cut on R-Truth, in detail anyway. I won't be talking about NXT. I may talk about 205 Live. It's basically because NXT isn't really exciting, and on the TV tapings anyway, there's not really a lot to talk about anyway. Nothing really happens. But as I said, we're going to be talking about Raw. We're going to be talking about SmackDown, and for the past few weeks, we've had kind of boringish shows from both. Last week's Raw picked up a little bit because of Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar, but this week we actually had a really good Raw for a few different reasons. I'll get into them in my review. But SmackDown is faltering at the moment. It's not doing anything really. It's not as good as it once was. It's slipped really. It's now the B show as it should be, but it still shouldn't be as bad as it is. Currently, it's not as bad as 2 or 3 years ago, where it was both brands, and it was basically just a pre-recorded basically replay of Raw. And I know that the brand split didn't happen 3 years ago, but it's 3 years ago SmackDown and Raw were in a bad state. But anyway, Raw this week was actually really good. It actually started off with Roman Reigns basically revealing who he'll battle at SummerSlam. He came out saying that whoever wins at Great Balls of Fire, he's going to be challenging him at SummerSlam. Samoa Joe came out basically, and he engaged in a brawl with him basically because he kind of felt a bit offended because of it, and I think anyone would, because Roman Reigns isn't the next John Cena. Well, I think Vince would like to think he is, but he's not really at the moment. But Roman Reigns comes out doing a John Cena like he did back at the Royal Rumble, and saying that I'm going to challenge for any championship I want, and I'm going to go for the World Championship. But Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns did have a brawl, but Roman Reigns basically escaped the cookie and clutch to look strong at the end of that segment. The entire segment was fine. Samoa Joe's really good on mic. Roman Reigns isn't bad on the mic. The majority of the fan base the majority of the WWE universe says that Roman Reigns is, bad on the mic, but he really isn't. He's actually one of the most capable talkers on Raw. And that's, people just like to look at faults in everything he does because he's the company boy, the one that Vince is pushing, even though he's not that bad, and he's actually become a lot better. Maybe a year ago, those complaints would have been valid, but now it's a bit, the arguments don't last that long because of how good Roman Reigns is at doing his job at both talking and both wrestling as well talking and wrestling. We then had a match between the Hardy Boys and Luke Gallows and Kyle Anderson, aka The Club. They've actually stopped calling them The Club for a few months now, which is good, because if you're in England, you're just thinking they're walking around like a chocolate bar. Google it if you don't know. But the Hardy Boys won to close out the segment, which was good. Well, the Hardy Boys won. At first I thought the Club were going to win, purely because they need to win. Because it's funny how at the start of their run they were arguably as hot as AJ Styles, maybe not as hot as AJ Styles, because AJ Styles came in at pay-per-view in a really good crowd. The Club just came in at a random Raw, I think, and attacked the Usos. So their debut wasn't as special as AJ's, but they still were known. A lot of people knew who they were, and when they debuted, not too many people did, but they actually did a good job of establishing them. But now they're just they're the Colognes of Raw now, because the Colognes have gone, so they need someone to fill their place, and that's them. Heath Slater and Rhino are also in that position, but I read online today that the current thought is that Heath and Rhino are not a tag team anymore. We're yet to see that on Raw or anything like that, so it's not a spoiler, but it's a rumor, so different. So yeah, but the Hardy Boys winning here it's fine, but the thing is, we're now building to SummerSlam after Great Balls of Fire, and obviously the Hardy Boys will get a rematch at Great Balls of Fire for their championships, because they did lose that 2 out of 3 falls match. However, after Great Balls of Fire, they're not going to win at Great Balls of Fire. I think Sheamus should keep those titles for like up until Survivor Series at least. You know, you've got to make them out to be dominant heels and not lose them in the first month of their reign, or in the first 2 weeks of their reign, or whatever, however long ago the last pay-per-view was, Extreme Rules. But the next people that should challenge for those belts, I don't know, maybe the Revival, potentially the Revival, I don't really care. But with the Hardy Boys, if you're going to turn Matt broken, which a lot of people want, I don't really care for it, but if you are going to do that, well, they're going to have to have a match at SummerSlam. Now, the last match we had was at WrestleMania something, can't remember the name. It's one of them. So it's one of the 33 we've had. But they had a match there, and it wasn't that good. But I imagine that this SummerSlam match would be pretty good if like there was maybe like an added stipulation or a different added stipulation. I don't know. I've never seen the initial match. All I've heard is that it's really bad, or it's not that good. Anyway, then we had Elias Sampson, and Finn Balor interrupted him. I would rather not see Elias Sampson enter a feud with Finn, purely because I think that eventually Finn will win that feud, and Elias Sampson doesn't need that. Like, that's like debuting Shinsuke Nakamura and Ty Dillinger together and making them feud with each other. It doesn't do any justice for one of them, because one person has to lose. You can't have double countouts or disqualifications every one of their matches. Anyway, later on in the show, Elias Sampson did actually ambush Finn Balor from behind when he was having a interview. So it does seem that we're having that feud now between the two. Elias Sampson is actually one of my favourite guys on Raw currently, because I really liked him in NXT, and I didn't see him for a while in NXT because he was out on injury, came back, was at El Vagabundo for like 2 matches or whatever, and now he's up to the main roster, and I really like him because his gimmick's really good. He's actually got one of the most interesting gimmicks. Like, a lot of the gimmicks there are now are kind of boring, or they're old, or they're, just nostalgia. But Elias Sampson's gimmick is one of my favourite, purely because I really enjoy music. Music's great. But the Drifter is also really good, because I really like that sort of character. But if he is truly entering a feud with Finn Balor, it's not going to end up very good for him, because he's obviously going to be losing the entire feud. Also, Finn Balor had a match with Bo Dallas. This was obviously match of the year. I'll talk about Bo Dallas in a little bit. This was basically a squash match. Bo Dallas, I think, in this part of the show, he was a face. I'm not sure. I think he's been going back and forth. It doesn't really matter, but he's one of them in this. But he was like really intense at the start of the match, and that was kind of the stuff we need to see from Bo Dallas. It's also kind of funny how far he's fallen. Like, he was once an NXT champion. I mean, that is obviously the most prestigious belt in all of wrestling. As shown by its lineage of champions. But he was once an NXT champion, and now he's not even mid-card level at best. He gets like a match on Raw every 4 months. I mean, that's going to change because something else happens, which I'll get to in a little bit. But this is something I've noticed with NXT, is that a lot of the people they bring up don't really do anything for like 3 or 4 months, and if they do anything, it's not very eventful. And then after those 3 or 4 months, if they haven't really done anything eventful, like Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe are all different, because I think Vince or whoever's running whatever show they're on has realised we have to actually do something with these guys. They can't just be another person on the roster to be beaten by Roman. So that's why we've seen, Shinsuke and Finn Balor and Samoa Joe have a lot of success, while Big E and Bo Dallas and Sami Zayn haven't really done that much. Seth Rollins is another example. I mean, you kind of had to do something with him as he was the inaugural champion. It would have been kind of it would have been bad if you brought this guy up who's the first ever champion and then made him job out to whoever the big star was at the time. I don't know. I wasn't watching wrestling at that point. Also, Seth Rollins has announced that he is the cover superstar for WWE 2K18. The cover looks really good. The game, there was a trailer that was released, and it also looks really good. Well, the trailer was really good. There was no gameplay. It just looked. The trailer looked very, very good, and it was really cool. Basically, he was burning down like an old warehouse in Stamford, Connecticut, full of like old wrestling memorabilia, and it was really good. It had like a Bruno Sammartino statue, which he bonked his head off with a Sting baseball bat. There was also what I refer to as the Lucille, but it's not. It's Barbie, it's Mick Foley's bat, baseball bat. I think that's what they call it anyway. Don't know. There was also a load of championships. Ric Flair's coat was on fire. He was really cool out of it. Of course, there was no gameplay, so there's nothing to really get excited about currently, because we have to see gameplay before I make any decisions. I probably will get to the game anyway, because it's, WWE 2K18. The promo was fine. I think Bray Wyatt came out? Yeah, Bray Wyatt came out in it as well. It seems like that's the feud going forward with them. Seth Rollins is going to win it. I don't really know what they can do to Bray Wyatt to bring him back into, I guess, the star he once was. I mean, Bray Wyatt is a weird case, with a person like him who's been jobbed out so many times to so many big names, and he's only just people are just losing hope on him now. It's like Dolph Ziggler almost, but Dolph Ziggler, no one has cared for Dolph Ziggler that much in a while. I think he was kind of resuscitated around that Miz feud, but now he's just kind of faltering again. I would like to see Dolph Ziggler have some success again in WWE, but I don't think that's going to happen because of all the new stars coming up and all of the old ones coming back. But Bray Wyatt's an interesting case because he has sustainably been popular with the fans for a long time, and only now he is falling off, which is kind of bad. I would like to see him beat Seth Rollins, but I don't think it's very smart on having your cover superstar lose his next pay-per-view match, because obviously the next one, not the next one, actually, let's say the next one would have been sponsored by 2K18, but no, 2K18 doesn't come out till October, so it wouldn't. We had a match between Akira Tozawa and TJP. TJP, people say turn them heel, it'll do them justice, it'll make their character interesting. Well, TJP has turned heel, and who cares about him? And you could also argue, well, he's just cruiserweight, so who cares about him? Exactly. Akira Tozawa seems to be the next logical step when it comes to Neville and to his next opponent. I really like Akira Tozawa. I think Akira Tozawa is probably one of the best cruiserweights in that division. We haven't seen a lot of Grand Metalik, so I can't really say anything for him. Noam Dar is also really good. I mean, he's been very underutilized in WWE. I mean, he's been paired with Alicia Fox for the better half of so many months, but he is also very good. I've seen a few matches of his. Saw a really good match between Akira Tozawa and I believe El Ligero, who is a luchador from England, and he's very good. You can see him on WCPW mainly, I think. Even though I really hate that promotion, go and watch him there if you want to see decent matches, but not very decent production quality. Also other good cruiserweights were Drew Gulak. I really like Drew Gulak, and I also really like Tony Nese. Those two are really good. I like Tony Nese. I don't like him on the mic that much. He's not very good on the mic. Austin Aries is really boring, and he shouldn't be face, but they have no faces, so they needed someone recognizable to be a face. You've got other people like Mustafa Ali and I can't remember his name. The other Middle Eastern guy, I think is Mustafa Ali. I can't remember his name. Oh well, Arya Davari. There we go. Yeah, I was about to say Mustafa Ali twice, but basically, yeah, they're fine. Mustafa Ali's probably the better one. Arya Davari's got a more grounded style, which I like. I've been watching a lot of NWA recently. Actually, I've been watching Starcade '83, and it's been decent. There was a really good match between Greg Valentine and Roddy Piper in a dog collar match. Collar and chain match. It was really good. There was also I think, well, it wasn't really a good match, but it was a really bloody match between not the Iron Sheik, Abdullah the Butcher, and I want to say Carlos Colon. That could be wrong. I can't remember. Anyway, let's get off that topic. Akira Tozawa wins here with kind of a semi-botched top rope senton. Don't know why he stopped doing that German suplex. Maybe it's because it's fear of injury. Maybe it's because of Brock Lesnar. I don't know. He shouldn't have stopped doing that German suplex because that was like the best finishing maneuver in the entire cruiserweight division, and if not one of the best in the main roster currently. Because how quick it was and how kind of out of nowhere. You could have even had it to be like a new RKO, like it came out of nowhere, whatever. Yeah, as I said, like the ending was kind of botched in a way because he didn't land he didn't land fully on TJP. He landed kind of on the mat, which is fine, but I don't really care. The Miz is seemingly splitting with Maurice now, which to some is fine. To me, it's not. I don't think this kind of confirms, and I have also read a few rumors today that Maria and Mike Kanellis are basically going to be the new Miz and Maurice. If you watched or if you listened to my very cringe-worthy, we'll go with that, my very cringe-worthy Money in the Bank review, pay-per-view review, I did say that Maria and Mike Kanellis should not be booked as a new Miz and Maurice because it won't. It's not good. It's not good to have two of them on the roster, but at the same time, it's not good to scrap one and then just make a new one. That's like what they tried to do with Hulk Hogan and Lex Luger. They were like, oh, we don't have Hulk Hogan anymore, so we're gonna have a new guy who's basically Hulk Hogan, just called Lex Luger, and who is somewhat uglier. But the Miz has now been put in a relationship with not a same as Maurice, but in a more like a he has now two lackeys, which are Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. They helped him when Dean Ambrose basically came out. Basically, The Miz has basically proposed Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. They've been kind of overshadowed and underused, and he also mentioned the Marine 5. Has anyone actually watched that yet? I mean, it's been out so many months, and I don't know. I don't really care for those films. But Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas are kind of his bodyguards, his lackeys. Obviously, he's going to use them like he did Maurice, but in a way that he can now move them in front of them, and people can now hit them. They're going to be his Singh brothers for the rest of the year. I mean, I'm really happy for Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas because they're both very underutilized. They're both very overlooked, especially Curtis Axel. I think Curtis Axel is very underrated. He's not the best wrestler on the planet. I mean, he's not, but you could really do something with his Mr. Perfect, or even change his gimmick to be Mr. Imperfect. At the start of the brand split, like the first match that was on there, he was like the last person to be drafted for Raw, and they gave him like this nickname, and I can't remember what it was called. I'm gonna look for it just very quickly, but it was something like what was it? Have a look. But as I said, yeah, I'm very happy for both Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. I mean, having them actually be on Raw rather than in a segment. Mr. Irrelevant it was. No, that was good. They should have just stuck. They could have stuck. Yes. They could have just stuck with Mr. Irrelevant, and it would have been really good, I think. Because Mr. Irrelevant, him being the last draft pick, you could have really done something with that. And also, when they had Raw back in, I think it was Minnesota is where he's from, right? Because it's same Brock Lesnar, right? getting that right. It's not Minneapolis, it's Minnesota, I think. I get mixed up between the two. He got a really good reaction, and why I don't get why WWE is like, oh, he's getting a really good reaction. No, we're just gonna focus on it. The other guys that are actually not getting a good reaction. Like, Finn Balor's getting like a semi-decent reaction currently. I mean, that was earlier in the year, and Finn Balor wasn't. Was he on the roster? I don't know. Anyway, we had a match between Apollo Crews. We had a match between Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil and Cesaro and Sheamus. I was really hoping for Apollo Crews and Titus to win here, because it would have kind of solidified them as kind of threats in the division. If they go for the tag team championships, that'll be cool. I'd like to see them hold the belts, especially Apollo Crews. But I'd like to see both of them, because I like both of them equally. I don't care what people say about Titus or Apollo. I think they're both really capable workers. Titus O'Neil maybe a little bit less. But both of them are really good. I think Titus O'Neil is he's more suited to be a talker. He does stumble on the mic, but then so does everyone. Main evidence, me. But Cesaro and Sheamus got the win here. I didn't like how Apollo Crews got pinned. I think it should have been Titus O'Neil. Apollo Crews still should not be getting pinned. He's probably one of the most. I've been saying this a lot this Raw, but he is probably one of the most underused guys, or overlooked and underrated guys on the roster. Heard he had a very good match with Kalisto on the pre-show of Extreme Rules. Didn't see that match. I was probably busy at the time, but yeah. Anyway, as I said before, The Miz has now got two new bodyguards in the form of Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, and basically Dean Ambrose came out. They had a bit of a promo. I think can't remember. I have done other things since I watched Raw. So yeah, but basically it ended up with The Miz. Well, Maurice got. Yeah, Dean Ambrose pushed The Miz into Maurice. Was it? No, I think The Miz pushed. I can't remember. Someone pushed someone into Maurice. Maurice walked off, and yeah, they're definitely splitting. And there were two bears at the back. Oh yeah, it was a big apology segment for Maurice, because basically The Miz was trying to apologise for everything, and there was two bears in the corners with like sorry and please forgive me and stuff. I don't really care for the bear thing, to be honest. It's fine. It's it's gimmicky and all, but who cares? It's not going to be the next bunny thing, is it? We're not going to have like a third bear turn up. We could have a third bear. Watch this. 1 week, I'm gonna predict this now. 1 week we're gonna have a Miz segment with two bears, and one of them's not gonna take its hat off, like its mask off. It's gonna be Dean Ambrose, because why not? Because wacky Dean Ambrose will be there. But yeah, basically it ended up with Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas beating down on Dean Ambrose, which is very good to see. And also Curtis Axel looks very funny in a bear costume. So also there was a match between Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns, the Battle of the Joes, and the battles of the Samoan Joes. This match, from what I saw, was decent. It was fine. They halfway through the match, when you thought Roman was going to win, we started hearing the beeping of a van or something backing. When it's backing, it's going in the opposite direction to the way it goes. That's the best way my brain can think of it at the moment. I'm very tired currently. But anyway, Braun Strowman returned in an ambulance, and he came out and he roared, and then Samoa Joe won by making Roman Reigns pass out, which was good. I was expecting Roman Reigns to lose this, definitely, but they could have just pulled something. At the moment, it's obvious that Roman Reigns is going to be losing a few more matches going forward. He's probably going to lose his match at Great Balls of Fire with Braun Strowman, because Braun Strowman did announce that he will have an ambulance match, saying that he is not finished with him. And basically, Roman is going to be losing a lot of matches now. I think he's going to be losing probably most of his pay-per-view matches, or not all of them, but a lot of them. I think he's going to be in a lot of multi-man matches now for the rest of the year, potentially, or he's going to be losing a few matches anyway, I think, because it's basically been rumoured that there's two potential things happening at SummerSlam and WrestleMania now. This is not a spoiler. This could not happen. Things change. I'm not going to put anything on the screen. If you want to skip, I don't care. But basically, Braun Strowman, or not Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns is expected at the moment, or is rumoured to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam and win the title, and then it'll be Roman Reigns versus John Cena at Mania, or of course it will be Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar now, and then Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 34. I'll say this: if it's Roman versus Brock at SummerSlam, it will be that's going to make it seem really big. It's going to make it seem like a WrestleMania rematch, you know. But I think the best thing you can do at SummerSlam is have Finn Balor, because Finn Balor will put on a pretty decent match with Brock Lesnar. I don't really care for the match between him and Samoa Joe. I'm not really looking forward to it that much, because they're both big guys. I know Samoa Joe is a little bit quicker than Brock, but they're both big guys with very similar offenses. As I said, Samoa Joe is a little bit more agile than Brock. But I think from where you go now is you give Finn Balor SummerSlam, then it's some Survivor Series, so I'd just say stick either Bray Wyatt or Seth Rollins in there, and then at Royal Rumble have the other one in. So I'd say maybe Seth Rollins at Survivor Series, and then Bray Wyatt at Royal Rumble or something, and then at Mania you can have Roman. I'm not against the idea of Roman Reigns winning the title at Mania, but again, things can change. I would very like to see that if Roman is the champion by Mania, that John Cena dethrones him to get his 50th title reign, whatever it is. Sasha Banks in a match with Nia Jax. Did this get DQ'd? Because I'm pretty sure something happened in this one. Yeah, I think everyone came out, didn't they? Yeah, I think so. I don't care for this match. I'm just going to skip over that because I can't remember it. The big thing that happened on this show, the big thing everyone's talking about, rather than Braun Strowman returning, is that Enzo Amore's mystery attack was revealed. And in the ring, Kurt Angle had Big Show, he had Revival, and they had Big Cass with Enzo and Cass. And basically, Big Show kind of cut a heelish, not a promo, but he basically was a bit heelish here, and he basically just said, basically told Enzo and Cass to stick it, basically, and then walked off. The Revival basically had very good alibis, apparently, so they were off the table, and then Corey Graves basically just said, I've got CCTV footage here, and then Big Cass was shown basically lying down and pretending he actually had got attacked from behind, and then cut back to the ring. We saw Enzo and Cass, and you know what? This promo from Cass was probably the best one he's ever cut. I don't rate Cass as a talker because he's very robotic, but in this instance, he was really, really good. He cut a hell of a promo here. Like, this was one of the best promos I've heard in a while. Enzo also did a very good job here. We saw a tear roll down his eye that will be gifable for the foreseeable future, if not more. And then, of course, Big Cass basically just booted him in the face and then said, you can't teach that, and walked off. And this is really good. This segment was just great in so many ways. Number one, Enzo Amore. It's not going to be good for Enzo, I don't think, this split. Purely because he's not the better of the two when it comes to in-ring. Big Cass is more capable in-ring, and Enzo's a bit clumsy. Maybe this will be able to motivate him to get better a little bit now that he has kind of the pressure of wrestling on his own. It's thought that Enzo will face Cass, which will be a one-and-done match, and then it will be Cass versus Big Show at SummerSlam, which will actually be pretty good because it'll be the Battle of the Giants. You know, a match we've never seen before. You know, we've never seen Battle of the Giants before. But anyway, yeah, this was really good. Cass could potentially, I would really like to see him go into the IC Championship title picture. I would also like to see Goldust go into IC Championship picture. I mean, The Miz currently, I think The Miz will hold that belt for a while, but I would just like to see both those men go into that title picture, if not in a triple threat at whatever pay-per-views after SummerSlam or even at SummerSlam. And that was Raw, basically, which was good. I think, I can't remember what. I think was the main event. I think the main event was the Roman Reigns one. Don't know. I'm literally going through YouTube and just looking at all the clips because I can't remember anything that happened off the top of my head. I can remember a lot about SmackDown, and that's why I don't like SmackDown that much this week. Yeah, this episode of Raw was actually good, in my opinion. We had a lot of good stuff. We had, Enzo's Mystery Attacker. We had Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas getting screen time. We had Braun Strowman returning. We had, what else we had? We had Elias Sampson. Seth Rollins, he cut an okay promo. Samoa Joe got an also good promo. I mean, Raw was really good this week. However, there was another show that they had this week, and it's called SmackDown Live. It's on Tuesday nights, don't know if you've heard of it. And it was actually really shit this week. So first off, we have Carmella and James Ellsworth, basically mocking everyone that they won Money in the Bank, and Carmella basically got a lot of heat here. She actually cut a really good promo. She's been learning, obviously. Like, this was the first time I've heard her talk on her own without like someone in the ring with her, other than James Ellsworth, of course. But she got a hell of a promo here. I mean, this week's been like a good week for promos, to be honest. But she cut a really good promo, and she basically was talking about like how she won the Money in the Bank fairly, and I still think she did. She didn't break a rule. Pardon me. She didn't break a rule. Ellsworth. There is no. Maybe if in that fake kayfabe rulebook, WWE has maybe that maybe it says that people in a Money in the Bank match, someone can't climb a ladder for you. But there's no written rules in WWE, as many of us know. So Carmella won fair. The ending was good, but we'll get to that in a minute. Big E and Jimmy Uso had a match with each other. Big E won with the big ending. Decent match. Skip over that. Randy Orton had a sit-down interview with Tom Phillips, talking about how he will basically destroy Jinder Mahal. And this was actually probably my favourite segment of this entire thing, because he basically said that he will go to India and RKO every one of Jinder Mahal's family. And I'm just thinking about him going over there and RKOing all of his elderly relatives, younger relatives, and then like he'll go over there and like just RKO everything. I just found that to be really, really funny, to be honest. I know my voice doesn't sound like his, but who cares? But yeah, it was a really good promo, and it was good. Throughout the night, we had a lot of Charlotte and Natalia and Tamina, and then Becky Lynch basically approaching Daniel Bryan and basically saying to do the right thing, whatever. The worst one of these was the Natalia and Tamina one. I like Tamina a lot. I don't like Natalia that much, because she's not a very good heel. She talked like the promo. The way her acting. I always say promo, but her acting here was really bad. It was like diva era thing, I guess. I mean, both women were from the Divas era, whatever, the reality era. We had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Dolph Ziggler. For a moment, I thought Dolph Ziggler was going to win with a sick zigzag, which looked very good. I'm not a fan of Shinsuke. I don't really get him. He's a lot of show, and that's it. Everything from his entrance to his in-ring style kind of just annoys me in a way, because his entrance is overbearing and just obnoxious, and while his music is good, it's been overplayed to the point where the Glorious song, I can't listen to that because it's been overplayed that much. And his wrestling style, yes, it's strong style, it's toned down, and I'm now also beginning to get annoyed by the thigh slap thing. So whenever someone connects with something, whenever someone does a super kick, for example, they'll slap their thigh or they'll slap something. to make it sound like they're connected. It's very common. It's been used for a while. It's used a lot more on the independent scene. But Shinsuke, I don't really like the New Japan style. While it's strong style, yeah, that's fine. But if I wanted to actually watch, real fighting, I'd go and watch MMA. I'm not to say that it's a bad style, because I don't like the independent style even more. I don't like all the showboating and stuff that the Ring of Honor guys and PWG guys do. So I mean, New Japan's it's a good style. It's not my style. As I said, I've been getting into more, older technical wrestling, and which is it's good. It can be seen as boring. I know someone that really doesn't like Bret Hart because of that point. Because he's very technical. He's not high flying. He's not, fast paced. He's more on the ground, headlock, whatever. But Nakamura, I don't really care for him. He should not be getting the WWE Championship this year or next year. He should stay at United States Championship level for now. I mean, Kevin Owens is doing a good job as champion currently. The face of America thing. But Shinsuke Nakamura, I don't really. It's kind of hard because Shinsuke Nakamura is in a weird position because he shouldn't go into the main Jinder Mahal feud, because I don't really want to see Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't really want to see Shinsuke Nakamura go for a title, because I don't think to be honest, he's actually one guy that doesn't really need a title in a way at the moment. Like he's that over with the majority of the fans. I'm not saying me, but I'm saying the majority of the fans, that he could literally go without a title for a few months, which is probably going to be the case. But maybe even he goes into the tag team division with AJ. Like, that would be pretty good, and then elevate some other people on the roster, because they have got a semi-decent roster for SmackDown. I mean, it's not as... To be honest, Raw's is a little bit better because it's bigger and they've got more. Meaning they can do more. Then we had a Kevin Owens New Face of America Invitational, which was an open challenge for the United States Championship, and he basically said that anyone from Dayton, Ohio, could challenge him for it. AJ Styles came out. He's from Georgia, so Kevin Owens obviously just didn't acknowledge him and basically just moved on. And then we heard a very familiar song, which I'll get to in a second, but I did skip over this. As I said, very new to podcasting, going all over the place. But Shinsuke did beat Dolph. So yeah, anyway, back to the better segment. We did hear a very familiar song, and that was American Alpha's theme. And I was a bit interested in seeing if both of them were coming out, but it was only Chad Gable, weirdly. Chad Gable was actually the better of the two anyway. He could be the next Kurt Angle in a way. I mean, he shouldn't be Kurt Angle carbon copy. He should be Kurt Angle, more like a successor to him rather than a copy of him. But yeah, these guys put on a very good match. I do like that O'Connor roll, I think it is, into a German suplex from the turnbuckle, the corner. I think that's a really good move, and that's obviously looks to be one of Chad Gable's main signature moves. I like American Alpha. They haven't been used in a while. There are a few conflicting reports. Dave Meltzer did say that they didn't get over, so they haven't been used. There were other ones that they've been kept off TV because WWE has more plans for them, I guess, or want to rebrand them. However, Kevin Owens did walk out the winner here. AJ Styles sat on commentary, but Chad Gable. I mean, if Chad Gable's going to go into a singles competition and Jason Jordan's also, that's good because then they have more singles people, but that means they have one less tag team. So AJ Nakamura make that tag team. You can call it the phenomenal style. How about that? You can have that for free. We also saw Mike and Maria Kanellis. I think this is actually SmackDown Fallout because on the video it says SmackDown Fallout, so I'll go with that. Yeah, I don't really care for these two. As I said, let's move on. Now time for the thing that pissed me off the most about this entire thing. Actually, before we get into that, I want to talk about the other matches to get out of the way, really. Luke Harper had a match with Jinder Mahal. Luke Harper's kind of had a tweaked gimmick, almost. He's now not a deranged deliverance guy. He's more of a family man who's, I guess, is like a face version of Kevin Owens, just not as good, I guess. I don't know. I like Luke Harper. He is cooled off really very quick. He's cooled off very quickly. He went out of that Bray Wyatt feud, and then I mean, he should have at least had a run in at Mania, or he should have done something at Mania, rather than just been in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale. But Jinder won here, almost thanks to thanks to the Singh brothers. Singh brothers need to do something in the tag team division or something. Like, if they went into the tag team division and Chad Gable and Jason Jordan weren't in the tag team division, I mean, it would fill that space, and then the phenomenal style could come in and then do their thing as well. Thing is, AJ Styles would probably get me into Shinsuke because I like AJ. I think he's good. But now for the thing that annoyed me the most about this thing, but also was one of the funniest segments of the entire show, thanks to James Ellsworth. Daniel Bryan came out, got all the women on the roster except for Naomi and Lana and Maria in the ring. So all the people that were in the Money in the Bank ladder match on Sunday, and basically he went back and forth a little bit, and he basically said that there is no rule in the rule book that says that someone else can basically win it for you. But again, they've never had someone climb the ladder and unhook the briefcase and give it to someone, so they're in uncharted territory. So basically, he strips Carmella of the Money in the Bank briefcase and then holds another Money in the Bank ladder match next week on SmackDown. Now, the funny thing about this was when James Ellsworth said something along the lines of, he basically said something about Daniel Bryan's new kid, and he said something like, he insulted him using the vegan thing, which I found very funny. I can't remember the exact thing. Again, it's been a while since I've actually watched. Well, it hasn't been a while actually. I watched it yesterday, but I've done other things, and it was in the morning when I watched it. So, but Daniel Bryan basically got in his face and told him to back off, and said that if you say anything about his kid again, that he will get fined. So that's good. Anyway, Carmella being stripped of the briefcase is not a good thing. Now, it's good if you're going to give the briefcase right back to her. That's fine. However, like, what's the point in like not giving it her back? Like, I mean, the match itself wasn't very good. Well, it for me, I actually enjoyed the match. To a lot of other people, they didn't. They thought it was a bit underwhelming. It was a little bit underwhelming. It wasn't. It should have gone on for longer. They should have done more. But for what it was, I personally enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it a bit more, of course, more than others. But while that's the case, Carmella winning that and then not going on to win this next one is just dumb, because it's like, oh, you get your 5 minutes of fame, now give the briefcase to Charlotte because she's the only woman that we need to push. She has all the accolades. No, give it to Carmella. Give her the first ever 2-time Miss Money in the Bank. I'm actually saying that correctly now, because I was saying Mr. Money in the Bank ladder match or whatever the other day. I mean, who else is going to win? Seriously, who else is going to win? The only other person I'd like to see win would be Tamina at this point. But I don't really care. Like, Charlotte and Becky, they don't need the briefcase. They don't need the briefcase. Becky maybe a little bit, because she's a face, and it would be kind of interesting to see her with the briefcase. She's just never to kneel, by the way. Natalya with the briefcase would be awful, because we'd have more of her promos. But scheduling another match on the next episode of SmackDown, I know it's going to boost ratings, and I know that's something they're really caring for at the moment. There are other factors to the ratings, the social networks, whatever, the network and the social media sites and all that. But at the end of the day, it's going to push ratings a little bit, of course. I think that's mainly what they were going for here, and they did produce a bit of controversy as well. But why sacrifice a pay-per-view match, one that people pay money for, in an attempt to create controversy, just to produce ratings. And now I understand that at the end of the day, ratings matter a lot more than what's actually going on the show. In a sense, I mean, ratings. No. Forget that. I'm rambling on that bit. I understand that ratings matter a lot more than other things, right? But you don't need to get rid of a perfectly good match. You know, the first ever Miss Money in the Bank ladder match, the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Sorry, first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and then you waste it to bring viewers. Now, okay, first of all, if you were to have Carmella defend her briefcase against the others, potentially, we'd in a ladder match. That's fine. You didn't need to strip her of the briefcase. You did not need to strip Carmella of the briefcase. You could have kept it on her, right? Now I understand why you did. It's basically because, who's going to win? Will it be Tamina or will it be Becky Lynch? But at the end of the day, it will be Carmella. Carmella is walking away a 2-time Miss Money in the Bank next week on SmackDown. And this week of SmackDown just kind of annoyed me, and that was the main reason why. I mean, nothing happened on SmackDown. Carmella came out. Oh yeah, in the Jinder Mahal match, Baron Corbin came out and walked around the ring, and that was it. To basically do a Carmella. But like nothing happened on this week of SmackDown. Carmella came out and addressed, basically just said, I'm Miss Money in the Bank, and then she wasn't saying that by the end of it. She was crying. Big E, Jimmy Uso had there was nothing really. I mean, the best things that happened were that Chad Gable had a match, which was a surprise, which was good, and it will be really good, I think, because it's going to be an open challenge in their hometowns for the next so many weeks or whatever. So we're going to see a lot of people get big hometown pops, which is going to be really good to build stars. This is probably one of the best thing they have currently on SmackDown. So let's say if they went to, I don't know, let's say for example with Curtis Axel, I know he's on SmackDown, but let's say in theory that if he were on SmackDown and if it was in Minnesota and if he came out, he would get a big pop because it's in Minnesota, it's in his hometown. Everyone gets a big pop in their hometown. When JoJo or whoever's announcing says, hailing from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Is that correct? I don't know. When they say from Las Vegas, Nevada, the Ryback, he'll obviously get a big pop. So, and then the other thing was a Randy Orton segment. But overall, SmackDown wasn't very good this week. It was subpar, but more annoying than any. There wasn't any good matches. Any matches that exceeded expectations. But at the end of the day, the whole Carmella Miss Money in the Bank thing is very, 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 very stupid. And it really, she really should not have been stripped of the briefcase. I understand it's to get viewers. I understand that, and a lot of other times I'll be saying, well, this is fine, it's getting viewers. But I don't think, it's how this has come about. I'd be fine if this was the second ever Miss Money in the Bank ladder match, on pay-per-view. And then they did, a screwy finish, and then, the next night on SmackDown, they were or the night, 2 days later, we're we're going to schedule another one. That'd be fine, but with the first ever one, it's enough to say, but you ruined the first ever one by having James Ellsworth win it, and then turning around and say, no, we're going to have a second one because the first one was god-awful. I mean, it's obviously not that reason, but, Anyway, I think that'll do for today for the Kickin Out of Kayfabe podcast. This has been a little bit longer, actually. This will be fun to upload, won't it? Thank you for watching or listening to another edition of the Kickin Out of Kayfabe podcast. Next week, I should be able to record another one. I feel as if I'm getting better at this podcast thing. I feel as if I'm not rambling as much, which is good. I am stumbling over my words a little bit. I'm talking to myself into a mic, which I've been doing for the last 49 minutes, which is good. Anyway, that'll do it for me for this week of the Kickin Out of Kayfabe podcast. The best show this week was Raw by a mile. It had so many good segments, while SmackDown did not. SmackDown was more stupid. The land of opportunity is now Raw, apparently, with Kurt Saxon Bird Lars. Anyway, but thank you for listening to another edition of Kickin Out Kayfabe podcast. I've said that several times. I've also missaid the word kicking, so I'll say that again. Thank you for listening to the second episode of the Kickin Out Kayfabe podcast. I've been your host, Dan.